Hey kids, how are you all? Did you have a good week? Were you kind to people like we talked about last week? I hope you were, because we talked about that parable last week, remember, of the lost sheep? I hope you found some lost sheep and you could help them. And I wanted to show you something today. I'm wearing a t-shirt, and it was last year's t-shirt, and it was our Methodist Day School t-shirt. A lot of you out there maybe went to the Methodist Day School, or you know somebody that goes to the Methodist Day School. And if you do, have them listen to Miss Vivian, and maybe they'll learn something. So come see us when we all get back to church again. I would love to give you all hugs, but right now you know that we have COVID. And so no hugs, but we love you anyway. And you know this will all end soon, won't it? Today, I'm going to talk about another parable. And I just want you to think right now about a wedding that you may have gone to. Some of you may have even been maybe a ring bearer, or you might have been a flower girl. You know what I'm talking about? Have you ever been to a wedding and you got to wear fancy clothes? When mom and dad say, we're going to Uncle Henry's wedding this weekend, what do you think you're going to wear? Are you going to wear your shorts and t-shirt like this? Or are you going to wear the nicest thing you have? Think about that, because we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And also, why would you wear what you selected? Because I don't know what you're going to pick in your brain, but I know what I'd pick. And I make sure I do that every time I go to a wedding. Now, let's go back. Remember, Jesus told us parables. Remember that? And do you remember what a parable is? A parable is a story, that's good, that has a meaning. Yes, Jesus is trying to teach us in different ways. And this is one of the ways he taught. And you have to really think about this when you listen to his stories, because sometimes they're not easy. But this story is about a wedding. And I just love weddings. I love to go to weddings. I know some of you boys might not want to go to a wedding because you don't want to put on a tie. But you want to look nice, don't you? Most of the time you do. You like to look nice. Mom and Dad want you to look nice too. So the king was going to have a grand wedding for his son. And his son, was excited about this wedding that his dad had promised him. It was going to have food out the wazoo. You would not believe it. All kinds of meat and vegetables and sweets and all kinds of things. It was going to be a big banquet. Oh my. And, it would be great to get to go to something like that, to get to be invited. Well, the king sent out his servants, because back in those days, a lot of the people with money had people that worked for them. And they were servants, and they would do what the king told them to do. So the king said, I want you to go out, and I want you to invite all of these people, and he told them who to invite. Go out and invite them. And the people that were on that list were very important people, VIP people in town. I mean, everybody knew who they were. Well, so the servants went out and invited them. And guess what? They didn't want to come. They weren't going to come. So they went back, the servants came back and told their master, the king, I'm sorry, sire, but no one wants to come. And the king said, you go back out and you invite them again. Do it again. So they went back out and invited those same people again, and guess what? Those people said, hey, I'm too busy to go to that. I don't want to do that. I've got other things to do, better things to do. And then some of them even walked on out to their fields to work. But then there were some that were mean, and they just said, I'm tired of you all coming and asking me all this all the time. And they hurt them very badly, hurt some of those servants. And some of them, I hate to say, even killed some of those servants. Isn't that terrible? It was horrible. And, you know, we know that in the Old Testament, sometimes you hear about some of those terrible things that happen. There were some mean people out there, isn't that right? Well, when the king found out about what happened, he got so mad, and he said, how dare they not come to our banquet, our wedding feast? So you know what he did? He got some more servants to go out, and he said to them before they left, he said, look, I want you to do this. Do not go to those same people anymore. They are not invited anymore. I want you to ask anybody you want to. I want you to ask the good people, the bad people, anybody you see, and you tell them to come to our wedding feast. We will all be here. We will have a grand feast and a grand night, and we want them to come. And so they did. And, well, it all happened just like the king said. You know, they all came, and it was a grand feast. Everybody was there, and they were all, you know, they all looked so nice. And then the king walked out, and he was looking at everybody, and then all of a sudden he saw a person there who was not dressed like he was supposed to be dressed. He just kind of came in and didn't care. He was being very disrespectful, because at weddings, you want to dress your nicest. You want to look nice. That's when everybody's there. All the families are there to celebrate something very important. And this was an important celebration. And we dress up in our finest for celebrations. But this guy even had an opportunity, because it's been said that sometimes they even had extra clothes for people to put on if they didn't have anything. But obviously he decided he was not going to wear it. He didn't care what he looked like, and he just came in. And the king had him thrown out of the banquet. And he had him thrown out to a place far away, had his servants take him far away. And in the Bible it says, and there was wailing and gnashing of teeth. And that meant that, you know, probably he was crying about it. And then, you know, when you hit the pavement, if they threw him out, you know, you grind your teeth, and, you know, it must have been pretty bad. But the king was very disappointed. And I think when I think about, remember we talked about Jesus telling these stories, and they had meanings. Well, let's talk about the meanings. The king was God, wouldn't you think? And who would the bridegroom be? Who would his son be? You bet, Jesus. Now, the fellow that would not wear the clothes, well, I think Jesus was trying to point out to all of us that he would not wear the clothes of Christ. He refused Christ's teaching. He refused the righteousness of Christ. Now, some of these stories sometimes, you know, seem a little different. Remember, they're very old. They've been around for a long time. But I can see the meaning in them, and you can too in a lot of these. You really have to think about it. And we have to accept all those other people that were at that, all those other people, although they were bad and they were good, they accepted Christ. They were there at this wonderful feast. And so we need to always remember that, you know, we need to accept Christ. We need to do the things that Christ would want us to do. So today you learned a parable. You learned a story that Jesus told, of the story of the wedding banquet. And you'll get this pamphlet this week. And it'll probably come about Saturday maybe. And in it, just like you always do, I want you to do a little work in it. And this week, it is about what we've talked about. Matthew 22nd, 1 through 14. And I want you to look at it. I want you to read it. And I brought our Deep Blue Bible. And I won't read it to you today because, you all have Bibles. And I want you to read your Bible. And see if you can find it. Matthew 22, 1 through 14. All right. You guys have a great week. And maybe you go to a wedding. Bye.